Joanne will be reposing at her late residence from 11 o'clock this morning. Funeral from there on Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock, going to the Sacred Heart Church, Carndonagh, for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock, with burial in the adjoining cemetery. Funeral Mass can be viewed live on carndonaghparish.com. The death has occurred of Thomas Patton, 14 at Glebe Hollow, Stranorlar. His remains will be reposing at his late residence this morning from 11 o'clock. Funeral leaving from his home on Wednesday morning at 10:20 for Requiem Mass in St Patrick's Church, Crossroads, Killygordon. Interment in the adjoining churchyard. Requiem Mass can be viewed live on the parish YouTube channel. Donations in lieu of flowers, if so desired, to the Patients Comfort Fund, St Joseph's Community Hospital, Stranorlar, care of any family member. Family time from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock and on the morning of the funeral. The death has taken place of Nancy Freel, née Barrett, the Lag, Milford, reposing at the residence of her daughter Tara Freel, the Lag, Milford. Funeral Mass tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock in St Peter's Church, Milford. Burial afterwards in Milford Cemetery. Funeral Mass can be viewed on church.tv. Family time from 10 o'clock tonight and before the funeral tomorrow. Family flowers only, donations if desired to RSE Donal Patients Comfort Fund, care of any family member. The death has taken place of Margot Butler, née Ponsonby, Drumnahoe, Letterkenny. Funeral from her late residence this morning at 10:15, going to the Church of the Irish Martyrs, Ballyreen, Letterkenny, for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, which can be viewed live on their YouTube channel. Private cremation will take place later. Family time before the funeral this morning, please. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu of flowers if desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member. And the death has occurred of Bernie McCauley, née Grant, 24, Craig Park, Muff. Removal from her home this morning at 10:15 to the Sacred Heart Church, Muff, for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock, followed by interment in the adjoining graveyard. Requiem Mass can be viewed on MCN Media. Family time, please, before the funeral today. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Oncology Ward, Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member or Murphy Funeral Directors. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Inishella's range of delicious, quality Irish meats is perfect for any dish.
Exactly. Hugo Keenan, rugby star, knows it. Whether you're whipping up weekday dinners,
Usually chicken fillets or lean minced beef.
Hugo leanin',
Sure.
or serving up a one-pot chicken casserole, or pork chops with a creamy mushroom sauce, or
Inishella's perfect for any meal all year round.
pick up a pack from the Inishella range today in participating Spar, Eurospar, Mace, Londis and XL stores.
Inishella, the perfect match.
It's hour 2 of the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. Donal Kavanagh with you on the programme this morning. Just a few of your comments before we go for the bingo numbers. We were speaking earlier to Katrina of Katrina's Hair Salon in Letterkenny after a cyclist hit one of her customers as she was exiting the salon, knocking her to the ground and causing her to be brought to hospital. Caller says Katrina is so right. The traffic warden or Gardaí need to be more proactive in the rules about e-scooters and cyclists on footpaths. There definitely needs to be an education programme on the rules to young people on where to use their scooter and bikes. I would just like to comment with regards to the accident on Lower Main Street, Letterkenny. I was there at the time. I feel the authorities need to enforce some form of legislation or fines, as this is happening all the time. I want to reiterate what both Katrina and Christy said. It's only a matter of time before there'll be a fatality. Wishing this lady a speedy recovery. Caller says they are a real danger and should be banned or fined. Another caller says, why doesn't the traffic warden patrol the pavements if the Gardaí can't? There should be no scooters, bicycle signs on the footpaths. Donal, if you look at the footpaths around the town where you can see in some places you can cycle on the footpaths, indeed, there are places where there are cycle paths and they're clearly marked with a picture of a bicycle, and absolutely they can be used. The problem with the Lower Main Street area of Letterkenny in particular is it's a busy area, the footpath is narrow and there is a raised sort of brick curbing on the right hand side of the footpath before you get to the road. So it narrows the footpath and means there is nowhere for a bicycle or an e-scooter to go. Another caller says, my husband and I were coming out of a cafe on the Upper Main Street area. Again, a young man on an e-scooter was speeding on the footpath. He knocked into my husband. Thankfully, he wasn't knocked over. The young man never apologised. Another caller says, if this was a person running on the sidewalk, would she ask for all such people to be banned? The young fellow was safer on the path. If you go slow, I don't see the problem. The issue here may be that the cyclist wasn't going slow. The cyclist was travelling at a significant enough speed to carry a lady along and then knock her to the ground, causing her to go to hospital. It may have been safer for the cyclist. It certainly wasn't safer for the lady who was hit. Now, is there a discussion to be had? There absolutely is. Just listening to the council housing conversation, and we spoke earlier to Rachel about the protest taking place outside the council offices in Dunlow on Thursday evening. Caller says, just listening, the councillors and the executive have abjectly failed the people of Donegal by neglecting to provide adequate levels of social housing in county development plans over the past decade. On top of the defective blocks issue, there are well in excess of 1,100 council houses also affected by defective blocks, and no plans on how to accommodate council tenants, let alone the thousands of private homes affected. There are funds available with an underspend reported by the Department of Housing last year. There are multiple sites available county-wide. You can see them on property sites. The council executive refused to bid for them. This is a council issue, so claims the caller. Now, I know they do have a number of major plans in line, and they're presenting regular updates to the members with regards to their plans, but certainly there is a deficiency and a shortage of housing at the moment. Caller says, yesterday a car overtook a group of cyclists on the inside hard shoulder in the Glentocher area of Carndonagh. That is amazingly dangerous. Caller says, could we get all the staff back to county council offices working and get them to answer phones? This will be a big start. At least we'd have someone to talk directly to. You leave a message and then they say there was no message. It's a total joke. Caller says, nobody in Dunlow has any involvement in building houses. Housing construction is based in Lifford, yes, but there are local officials and local council staff based in the office in Dunlow, and I suppose really where a protest takes place, the question is going to be, is it going to get a profile and is it going to be seen? And I suppose in terms of the Tóg Tuithe movement that Rachel and others are taking part in, they believe that they will hold a demonstration in Dunlow. I would not be surprised if this were replicated in other areas. The caller says there are a large number of beautifully new built homes, turnkey finished, sitting waiting for over a year ready to go. Donegal County Council are sitting on their hands due to unresolved negotiations over price because of rising costs of the build. We definitely know to cost increases everywhere costs rise. Why should the builder be at a loss? Now, we know there are a number of discussions taking place. There's one in Milford, there's one in Carn, and there are others as well where the council is in discussions with builders, and there are also in at least one case potential involvement of one of the social housing providers as well. And there are questions over the money being paid for the houses. Now that is an issue that's under discussion. I'm not going to get into it here, but it has been discussed at great length on the programme. Going to go for the bingo numbers in just a moment. Just before we do, just want to give you this message, and you always know you're in the middle of the summer when we start talking about back to school transport. Caller says, we are looking for a lift from the Falcara Dunfanaghy Creasla area for a secondary school child wishing to travel to Milford for the upcoming school year 24-25. We've been informed by Bus Éireann there are no seats available from Creasla to Milford, and they are not going to increase the capacity on this route. Ideally, someone who has similar school hours or even another parent in a similar situation. We are willing to share travel expenses. We'd be obliged if you could contact Highland Radio if you can help out. So if you can help out there, looking for a lift from the Falcara Dunfanaghy Creasla area for a secondary school child wishing to travel to Milford for the upcoming academic year, I presume it's for secondary school. Bus Éireann have no seats available from Creasla to Milford, and they're not going to increase capacity. So if you can help there, please contact the station and we will put you in touch with the family concerned. It's 17 minutes past 10 o'clock. If you play Highland Radio Vision Ireland Radio Bingo, please grab your pens, grab your books. It's eyes down. Let's go.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Monday, July 22nd. Playing on a green sheet. Reference number is S6. It's week 30. Today's numbers are 64, 63, 40, 53, 85, 23, 39, 22, 62, and 19. Phone your claim to 04833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number, the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland Bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Attention golfers! McGurk's Golf in Letterkenny Retail Park has exciting news. State-of-the-art Quintic custom putter fitting is now available. Find the perfect putter for you. Book now online or by contacting the store directly. Or why not head into store and avail of the major value during the Open. McGurk's Golf Letterkenny, your go-to destination for all things golf.
Join me, Marty Friel, this and every Friday night from 8 for Rocking Hits on Highland Radio in association with Arena 7 Letterkenny. If you're celebrating a birthday or a work night out, Arena 7 Entertainment Complex has it all. Check out arena7.ie.
That's the sound of someone sleeping soundly on a Restex mattress. Choose from the Donegal range. A Teelan, a Kinnigo, or a Mulroy mattress. It'll change the way you sleep forever. Restex Beds Mountaintop Letterkenny. Leave the rest to us.
The summer sale is now on at Watson Menswear in Letterkenny, with a big range of 2- and 3-piece suits reduced to half price. Also, a selection of blazers and dress shirts, half price. There's 20% off formal footwear and loads of great bargains in casual clothing and footwear in the summer sale now on at Watson Menswear. Open 7 days a week on Main Street, Letterkenny, and at watsonmenswear.com.
The 9 till noon show on Highland Radio, 20 minutes past 10 o'clock. Let's go to Zoom because this week is National Farm Safety Week. And we're joined on Zoom this morning by Marcus O'Halloran, who's an Executive Director at Agri Aware. Marcus, good morning.
Good morning to you and good morning to your listeners.
A very important week, Marcus. We know there have been all too many tragedies on farms across the country, and Donegal sadly has not been immune. A number of deaths over recent years in the county here, and even apart from the deaths, many serious injuries as well on farms right across the country. That's something that Agri Aware and others are really trying to put a focus on this week.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Farm Safety Week is an initiative from IFA and the Yellow Wellies in the UK, and we're happy as a body that's funded partially by IFA to be able to enable the campaign and kind of take it that bit further. But Safety in Every Field is a campaign that we're running for this week. It's simply about highlighting the different dangers that are around the place. You know, it is a dangerous environment that we work in every day. You know, farmers are expected to be mechanics, electricians, plumbers. You know, we're expected to be vets at times, and we operate machinery and we look after animals. And you know, there's no other sector in society that is as exposed, I suppose, is what I'm looking to say, as what farmers are on a daily basis. And what we're trying to do is just to encourage you know, farmers to think and look at the jobs that they're doing and just think, you know, is there a safer way to do this, or have I everything in the right place for this job?
And there's more and more automation as well. There's more and more that can go wrong in terms of mechanically and traditionally. I mean, I certainly remember as a child the ads that were on TV warning people of the dangers of slurry pits and having children going near slurry pits, and that sort of thing was well highlighted. But now on the farm, it's a much more technological, a much more mechanical place. There's a lot more moving parts.
And there is, and look at a lot of those. A lot of that technology has made life simpler. What we need to remember is farms are busier places than they were, you know, 20 years ago. And what we don't have on farms is as many people around them that we had maybe 20 and 30 years ago. You know, the family farm model traditionally was where, you know, the family was based out of the house, and there was people kind of knocking around the whole time, and the farmer was out in the farm. And whereas now whoever's in the house is possibly out working as well, and that's, I suppose, an income piece that we're not going to get into today. But you know, all of the eyes that would have been there, especially with children around the farms, might not necessarily be there. And you know, as part of our work this year, we would have done a lot of work in schools where we've 23,000 primary school students educated on farm safety awareness. And the whole idea of this really is to make them that bit more aware of the dangers that are on farms, and particularly when they have their friends over, or if they're out and they're heading out to whoever, is it granddad or granny or mammy or daddy or whoever, that's out in the farm. There is blind spots, there is dangers around animals in fields, there is dangers around water, there is dangers in electricity. And that's the messages that we're trying to get across to the younger audience, so that we can make our farms and our countryside a safer place to live and work in.
A really effective campaign that's been running up to recently, I thought was very effective indeed, was the one effectively warning about complacency. It wasn't saying look out for the big, huge dangers on the farm. It was look out for the things that happen every day, the things that happen every day, the things you do every day, the things you do every day so much that you now do automatically and you now do without thinking. And when you start doing something without thinking, that's when you're moving into dangerous territory.
It is. Look, we're dairy farming at home, and it's even when you're closing gates on animals and different things like that, there's always a danger that a gate could be kicked back. There's always a danger that, even when you're hooking on something onto a tractor or the blind spots behind the tractors, we need to be consciously aware of those the whole time. And to check our surroundings, we can't, I suppose one of the things that a lot of farmers, including ourselves, might be guilty of, especially in the winter time when we're at silage pits and when we're taking silage out of the pits. It is important that farmers aren't just driving up and down those silage pits, and that they are constantly giving a look around. But look, we could talk all day about the different things that are out there that are dangerous to farmers. It is a dangerous place to work in, but weeks like this are important in that they do highlight those. And I think they are recognised by farmers, and farmers do take the time to consciously think about safety too. They are busier places to work than they've ever been. And with income issues, as I said before, a lot of farmers will be working part-time, and those part-time farmers are possibly doing the jobs in the evening time when it's getting that bit darker, or when fatigue might be there. So they're higher risk probably categories than most. But we're all at risk, and we just need to be conscious. And it's weeks like this to highlight the good work that's been done. It's weeks like this to highlight that we are at danger the whole time, but just to be consciously aware of that, and is there an easier or safer way to do it?
And just to put this into context for people, the importance of this. Last year, there were 43 workplace fatalities in this country, 43 across the country. Of those 43, 16, that's 37%, took place on farms. So 37% of workplace fatalities in this country last year took place on farms. That is a sobering statistic.
It is. And look, while I have you, I think one thing that to really highlight here is, I'm not going in on them now or anything, but I do think that the use of mobile phones, especially with tractor driving, is something that people need to become that bit more savvy about. We've seen issues over the last number of years around using mobile phones. You only have to look most days of the week, and you'll see somebody on the phone in the tractor. We have to get that bit better at that, so we do. It does only take a split second for something to happen. But that being said, that 37% is there for a reason. It's there because as I said to you at the very start, we are mechanics, we're electricians, we can be vets some days, we can be welders, we can be whatever. But we have to be all those things to be farmers, so that we can actually create a sustainable product and look after our animals in the best possible way. And that's the nature of the game that we're in. And weeks like this really are just to remind farmers to be safer, and to encourage them really to look at best practices of that, and to highlight it, especially to younger people as well, that farmers aren't playgrounds. They are working environments. And it's up to all of us to make those as safe as possible place to be.
The campaign is going under the name Safety in Every Field. And I have to give kudos to your PR people. That's a great name for a campaign. Really, really good name indeed. You'd be encouraging farmers and others to look at the videos, to read the messages, to read the pieces, because we can always, I suppose, have this thing. I know that. I've seen that before. I know all that. I don't have to look at that. And maybe no harm for people. Look, if they come across the messages on their social media, wherever, actually take the time to sit down and read it, sit down and watch it. You never know. You might learn something.
No, absolutely. We have a suite of videos coming out over the course of the week, between livestock handling and safety, child safety on the farm, around cattle crush safety. Anybody that has ever dosed an animal of 2 years age or a year and a half up, they know the difficulty in catching that animal in the brush, and there's safer ways of doing that. So I suppose we'll vet on this week Hazel Mullins, who will be well known to a lot of your listeners, that will be talking about that. We have a piece on tractor safety and blind spots, and especially around the PTO. We bull safety, slurry safety, use of chemicals in the milking parlour. We have a bit around quads, and then there's just, I suppose, the last piece then that we will have is around a primary school teacher who was actually one of the participants in the Safe Farm Futures program that we had this year, which again had 23,000 students take part in it, and we did over 60 different visits to schools in that. So really effective campaign, and really strong messaging has come out for the students, thank God.
I mentioned earlier that I recall as a child watching ads on TV warning particularly about slurry, and there was a very stark one about slurry pits that I will never forget. Michael McClafferty is a county councillor in the Lenties, MD. Michael, good morning.
Morning, Donal. How's things?
Not too bad at all. And you have a recollection of those ads as well, and you believe they should come back?
I have as well, Donal. Yes, same as yourself. I totally do believe they should come back. As I was saying to Shannon there, the producer, before we were going on live on air there, I remember back in the day, so do you, when all these ads were on, but as I was saying to Shannon, back, 25, 30 years ago, maybe slightly longer, you didn't have Facebook, you didn't have internet, you didn't have TikTok and so on. And now with social media and all the things that are going now, Donal, to catch people's attention, both young and old, there was never more outlets to put these ads up on. And for whatever reason or some reason, the powers that be seem to want to move away from this kind of stuff, whether they feel it's too dramatic or too drastic or up there, I don't know. But I know at the time when they were on, the same as you know, at the same watching them, that made you pay attention, and you thought about it when you went out to do whatever, whether it be slurry or whatever, handling animals, so on, etc. You thought about it when you went out to the field or to the farmyard after that ad was over, like. And as well as that, they were on quite frequent as well. Usually at timely intervals in the evening time and so on, when people were having a dinner or whatever the case may be, when it did catch people's attention. But for whatever reason now, in society, as I say, we seem to be moving into society now. If it doesn't suit, or if it's not nice, or if it's a bit dramatic, or if it's maybe more to the fact it's actually telling the truth of what's going on, do it. Don't show it to the people, and that's so wrong. Like, and I definitely would encourage to get all these ads back, or get modern day ads back, whichever they want to do at the minute. But get them back, hard hitting, and the way they were before, Donald, like you and I recall clearly. And it done no harm. It didn't do you any harm. We thought about it, and I'm sure for the young people of today growing up, it won't do them any harm either. It'll actually educate them, and better still, Donald, taking it further if need be, get it into the curriculum, get into the schools. To save and prevent farm accidents and deaths and everything else that has happened. We all know slurry in particular is lethal, deadly. There's nothing probably more lethal like it on earth as such, and forms of a gas as such. And at all avenues that needs to be highlighted how serious it is.
It's a good point and a fair point, Michael, and thank you very much indeed. The only thing I can't help but think, but you and I are harking back to a days when the family all sat down and watched the 6 o'clock news, and we all watched Hawaii 5-0, and we all watched RTE1 television as a family, and everyone saw it. And it's a very different media world now, and I suppose, as you said, there are so many choices between TikTok and social media and YouTube. You could put on 20 ads and 90% of people probably wouldn't see them because there is just so much choice out there. But it's a point well made, Michael, and I would certainly agree with you, and thank you very much indeed for making it.
You're welcome, Donal, but as a person made a very good point the last day. What is the difference, when we're growing up, when we have 5 or 6 stations, and we have 400 stations now in the television?
Oh, of course.
And people aren't happy now. Like, that's the reality of it. Like, there's so much choice when you had less. When you had less variety, less choice. People seem to know what everybody else is doing, and they seem to be seeing ads and everything else. And now we have so much, it just seems to get lost, really.
Bruce Springsteen had a song several years ago called 57 Channels and Nothing On. Now it's 400 channels and nothing on. But Michael, I take your point, and we're going down a little side avenue now, so I'm going to say good morning to Michael. Thanks very much indeed, and we'll talk again soon, no doubt. Going back to you, Marcus, that point Michael is making, I mean, does more need to be done in terms of putting out public service ads like those, and maybe putting them on TikTok, maybe putting them on Facebook or X or wherever, putting them where young people are actually going to engage with them.
Yeah, it's a fair point. I can remember a road safety advertisement that was out in, I'd say, 94, 95, and it was around seatbelts, and the end result wasn't a pretty one. And me as a 2 or 3 year old saw that. I've never not worn a seatbelt since.
I remember it well.
I never ever forgot the ad either. Frightened the life out of me, and I actually think it's a good thing. I think survivor stories are a great thing, and I think that those kind of advertisements are the harsher the reality. The it is a reality, and it's a potential a realistic outcome of an accident. So no, look, I do think that, and I will take that on board in terms of our own advertising or engagement in the farm safety space going forward, Donal, for sure.
Marcus O'Halloran, Executive Director at AgriAware, the Safety in Every Field social media campaign launched this week. Farm Safety Week got underway today, lasts until Friday, July 26th. Marcus, thank you very much indeed.
Good morning, Donal.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Live at Lifford Old Courthouse, check out the great lineup of acts and entertainment. Book tickets now for Alton on August 17th. Other big acts coming this year include Tina Turner Tribute, Proud Mary, Absolute Eagles, Springsteen, The King, Dolly Parton and Shania Twain. Ticket and meal packages available at Lifford Old Courthouse. Book now at liffordoldcourthouse.com.
Connect Hearing is open for free hearing tests. Our audiologist is available Monday to Friday for wax removal services at our Letterkenny Clinic in the Courtyard Shopping Centre. We also offer a home visit for those who aren't able to visit us. Our hearing is our social sense. Are you finding hearing more of a challenge? Call Ursula today on 07491 13296 to make an appointment. Good hearing helps us to connect to our family, friends and loved ones. Connect Hearing, connecting you to life.
Irish sun doesn't really count, right?
Look, we all deserve a bit of sun.
Skin cancer is the most common cancer in Ireland, so whether you're at home or abroad, protect your skin by following these sun smart steps. Slip into long loose clothes, slop on the sunscreen, slap on a sun hat, seek shade. Yeah, even on the cloudy days. Oh, and slide on the sunglasses.
I do have very funky sunglasses.
And I do love this hat.
Be sun smart from the HSE and Healthy Ireland.
An lá sira is far riamh. Cahar dlú chuirde. Seascan ó méid ón maile. De zip lína íontacha. Ocht rairc den chéad sco. Ceara chup an café chun sus a glacha. Níla méidir isteach I bluis lán íontas. Trí vacala! Ein lá do chredta ó bháin. Agric an lá sira is far a bheith agat riamh ag discoverireland.ie. agus buintanamh sira in ein lá a bháin. Ó chur fáil ag fáilte Ireland.
Make great photos into beautiful gifts at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. Different gift ideas include canvas prints, freestanding or ready-to-hang art blocks, and personalised photo books, perfect to mark any occasion. There's also jigsaws, calendars, mugs, and much more. For details, visit mcgees.ie. Turn your favourite moments into something truly special with McGee's Chemist Letterkenny.
It's 25 to 11 on the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. Joined on the line by Sarah. Sarah, good morning.
Good morning, Donal.
Sarah, you were looking at the Sunday papers yesterday, and in one of the papers it pointed out that 10 companies were paid €88 million by the Irish state for providing accommodation over the course of 3 months.
Yes. Really, Donal, I was shocked and horrified at reading that 88 million was paid out to hotels, B&Bs. These people are making billions and millions out of the Irish taxpayer. Now, I'm not talking about refugees and asylum seekers. I'm talking about the providers that are providing this. And, it's not a bit wonder, really, that people are raged and angry at the government. I have a brother who has Alzheimer's, very bad with it, and he can't even access care. He can't even get a day, for someone to look after him.
Yeah.
And his wife is under very severe pressure, and he can't even get a respite for one day. This madness really should stop. People that are paying tax all their life, and next thing that 88 million is being paid to these providers. It is absolutely shocking, and it should stop immediately.
The state's going to argue that it has an international obligation to
No,
provide
no. Yes,
support?
yes, Donal, yes. The Geneva Convention 1951. How many years ago was that, Donal?
51,
73 years
73,
ago.
yeah.
It's outdated. It's dated. There's a clear difference between 1951 and 2024. That needs to be updated. You know, and there is another thing. There is an opt-out clause. We don't have to take all those people in. And it's a scandal and must be halted immediately. That's all I have to say, Donal. I think it's absolutely shocking that the Irish strike. But that Geneva Convention, that should be updated. That's 73 years ago. Yeah. 73 years. So there's a clear difference between, you know, how things have changed 73 years ago to 2024. Do you think?
Absolutely. It's a fair point. Well made. Sarah, thank you very much indeed.
All right. Thanks, Donal, for following. Oh, thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
Sarah. And those figures contained in the Sunday papers yesterday. Now we're going to move on to Zoom because a caller got in touch with the show, asked if we would discuss the disgraceful road surface being experienced throughout the whole county, but in particular the Twin Towns area. Anyone that travels regularly through Ballybofey and Stranora will be well aware of the state of the road. And we're joined on the line by someone who knows more than most about the Twin Towns of Ballybofey and Stranora, Councillor Patrick McGowan, who has been a representative of that area for many, many years on Donegal County Council. Patrick, good morning to you.
Morning, Donal.
Pleasure to have you. Patrick, in terms of the comment being made by our caller, the state of the roads in the Twin Towns in particular are something which is terrible. Now, we know that there have been numerous roadworks over the Twin Towns for the past while and it's not completely finished yet. I mean, can you promise any respite to the people who are concerned?
Yeah, well, first of all, as you said, like the council has been waiting many, many years for Irish Water to come on and upgrade the sewer, and which we're all delighted they have spent multi-millions of euros there within the town between there and Buncrana doing it up, and we had to wait for them to do it because otherwise you'd be accused of tearing the road and then digging it up afterwards, and that was delayed for different reasons. Work has, I understand, most of the work, if not all of it, is done. So we're just sort of waiting now for them to say they're completed, and then we have to wait then for the department to give us the funding then to resurface it. Now, we don't have an allocation yet, so we are waiting. We'll probably be waiting to the end of the year when these budgets are announced that we will get a budget for it. But that would be the main reasons, particularly around Navanny and the Main Street in Ballybofey and Snorris, because of all them sewage works. And it was overdue to get them roads actually resurfaced now. Same actually in Castlefun's, the same there. Irish Water, just after completing a major mains water mains within the street too, and you can see that is very, very bad. But as I say, both them projects will be put forward now towards the end of the year for funding for next year for complete overlay, and then we have to wait then to see if we're allocated that money.
In the shorter term, there has been work done to fill potholes at times and temporary patch-up jobs. And the caller's saying, you know, they're not happy with the with those jobs when they're done. And I mean, it can be done. It doesn't last any length of time, and then the filling is out, and the pothole is as bad as it was. And they're questioning, you know, are potholes being repaired correctly? Is there a better way of doing this?
No, look, we all agree that the best way, if you have a road getting into poor condition, the best way is completely resurface it. That's it. The council and everybody in the council, everybody would agree with that and realise that. The problem is when you're waiting, you can't resurface all of the roads. You have to sort of do them on a priority basis. But in the meantime, all during the winter time, what the council does, they use that cold tire that you can buy it in the shop there, like that cold tire they carried around maybe a pick up for in a week, because when it's raining every day all winter and the men are out in the winter time, and basically they just throw it into the hole and that displaces the water. They roll over it, and hopefully maybe on a good day it might last another day, depending how the condition of the road and everything else. But now this time of year you can see them out with these what's called velocity patchers. That's out now where they're spraying hot tire and chips in the good weather and that, and they are a more lasting solution. But again, they're all a temporary fix. Now, if you have a very, very good road and you've had asphalt, maybe 4 or 6 inches of asphalt, you can go out cut out a square on it and repair it that sort of way, bring in contractors. But in a lot of the cases, a lot of the roads that we have, there's very little foundation underneath them. It's that wet mix. So if you dug into a tar and chip road, you wouldn't go down 2 or 3 inches. You'd come into sort of a gravelly base. So that's very hard to cut out. And the best way for filling that is hot tar and chips. But there has to be a certain temperature, 8 to 10 degrees, before they'll use hot tar and chips. Otherwise, when it rains, the tar will just run down the road. But look, we all agree the best way to do this is to completely resurface the road, and hopefully we'll get an announcement for funding for Balbafay and Castlefin, because both of them are in urgent need of it.
Yeah, but I mean that's got to be a substantial amount of money to allow a full job to be done, because there's no way it's going to be done under the County standard maintenance budget. It's got to be over and above the council's maintenance budget, because the maintenance budget just will not have anywhere near enough to do the work that's going to need to be done to get that fixed properly.
Yeah, look, the council gets a budget from the county roads, and then the TII give us a separate maintenance budget for the national primary and national secondary roads, and it's certainly very much the poor cousin when it comes to that. Like, you know, if the council had the money, they would soon spend it. There's no money goes back, ever goes back from the council roads budget. Everything is spent year on year, and as I say, but that will be a major problem there now to do Stenarder and Balbafay main streets. Like, it needs a complete asphalt overlay in the middle of the town. You don't use tar and chips in the middle of the town except for patching. So we look forward to doing. We have to obviously lobby very, very hard for it, you know.
Yeah. And the other thing to bear in mind is, until such a time as we get the bypass and we get the 10T projects up and running and we get a bypass of the Twin Towns, the reality is the Balbafay Stenarder, that road is the main road between Derry, Letterkenny, Donegal Town, Ballyshannon and Sligo. So there are heavy goods vehicles, buses, all manner of heavy trucks and buses and whatever going up and down that road every day. So it is an N road. It's a national road, and it's taking all the traffic a national road takes.
Yeah, look, from 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, 7 days a week, you can see it. All the lorries going in and out of the county, heavy vehicles have to come through Balbafay. The only lorries and vans and stuff you'll see in Letterkenny or Buncrana and Donegal Down is people actually getting in to the shops or dropping off. Balbafay, they have to come through. There's no other way. So it would warrant more funding. And we did have the minister in the county there a couple of months ago, Jack Chambers, and he drove through Balbafay and Stenarder. He also drove on the road from Castlefin to Balbafay. Now, he hasn't been moved since, you know, and he did express his opinion that it needed doing. He could see it himself, but someone else has moved on. But nevertheless, the council will be putting out their annual list of projects for the county, and I'm sure Balbafay and Stenarder and Castlefin will both be on that list. So we will all be lobbying very, very hard to get a permanent reinstatement of them roads.
Councillor Patrick McGowan, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Donal. Thank you.
Councillor Patrick McGowan there at County House in Lifford. A plenary meeting of Donegal County Council getting underway very shortly. Now, this is the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. We're going to take a short break. Back after these.
It all begins with a thump as the needle nestles into a deep valley of vinyl. Sizzle and crackle turns into fizzle and scratch, and the mesmerising rotations of pop and hiss.
The crackle of a vinyl record. Just one of the ordinary sounds rediscovered by Sean. Whatever sounds you've lost, our hearing experts could help you find them again. Book a free hearing test at Specsavers.
Your brand new Nissan is waiting for you at iMotors. Don't worry if you've missed out on the 242 pre-sales. We have a wide variety of Nissan cars to suit you, including the SUV of the year, the Nissan X-Trail. Avail finance offers starting at 0% or save €10,000 off the Nissan Leaf. Visit imotors.ie and get immediate delivery today, or visit our showroom.
All Together Now Festival returns. August Bank Holiday Weekend, 1st to 4th. Curramore Estate, County Waterford. With The Prodigy, Georgia Smith, Natasha Bedingfield, Barry Can't Swim, plus many more. Tickets from €249 are on sale now. Maybe subject to fees. Over 21, subject to licence. See alltogethernow.ie.
Power up with the Walt at Screwfix.
We've over 500 products, including exclusives like save €75 on the DeWalt 18-volt cordless twin pack with 2 batteries for just $279.95. Oh.
Shop now at screwfix.ie or in over 35 stores. Price valid until September 1st, subject to availability. See screwfix.ie for full T's and C's.
Happy birthday to Applegreen.
Applegreen's birthday is Wednesday the 24th of July and they've gotten us all a present.
Unreal deals.
100% Irish chicken filler rolls, only $2.47.
Outrageous.
Breakfast rolls, only $2.47.
Outstanding, John.
Thanks, John. A car wash, only $2.47.
My cars stink from tipping on the back roads.
Well, tip into your nearest Applegreen on Wednesday the 24th of July for great deals on snacks, chocolates, drinks and 100% Irish chicken rolls.
Outrageous.
Applegreen's birthday the 24th of July. Call in for unreal deals.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by McElhenny's. Support a local Donegal business with McElhenny's. From fashion to home essentials, find everything you need for any occasion. Shop McElhenny's Ballybuffet for quality you can trust.
The 9 till noon show on Highland Radio, looking at the weather forecast. Any rain or drizzle should be gone for the moment, with some sunny spells about in places. However, bad news is it's not going to last. This afternoon, rain will spread from the Atlantic, turning heavy at times this evening. Top temperature 17 to 19 degrees Celsius, light to moderate westerly or variable breezes. Now, the rain will clear tonight. It'll become mainly dry with clear skies. Lowest overnight temperatures 9 to 11 degrees Celsius in a light northwesterly breeze. Tomorrow, it's going to be mainly dry with some sunshine. Top temperatures 18 or 19 with light northwesterly winds, becoming variable in direction. So a better day tomorrow. Some nice weather for a while today, but it'll get a bit rainy in the afternoon. But some good weather coming, which is nice because there's a plethora of my in-laws up at the moment. So hello to all the Rockets and the Dunns and the Morrisons, and I think there's a few Doyles and Mackies lurking around as well. So all my in-laws are in Donegal, and it's great to see. Now we are going to go to line 1, I believe. Good morning, caller. You have been to your GP to make an appointment, and there's been an issue. Oh, I do beg your pardon. No, it's not a call, it's a comment. I'll just read this out. I'm a recovering cancer patient. I went in today to my GP to make an appointment. The receptionist said I can't take an appointment here. You have to phone in. I said, can I call you while standing here and make an appointment? Do you have any? To which she replied, if you phone, I'll check. I made a phone call while standing in front of her. She asked why I need it and said a nurse will call me back. The nurse called me back. I went through the same thing, full explanation of why I needed the appointment, to which the nurse replied, the doctor will call you back. Yeah, I mean, look, I know I've had the experience of trying to get something sorted in a GP surgery, and I'll be honest, I started ringing the day before I needed to get it done because I reckoned it could take an entire morning, and it did take the guts of a morning, actually. Can you please address this area if a GP availability, especially to our elderly? This new idea that you ring on the day for an appointment is absolutely unacceptable. Receptionists are being given too much responsibility and then being blamed for the system. It's the senior GPs and owners of the practice that need to change their stance and give appointments, especially to our very ill and elderly. The clinics are a joke at the moment. They urgently need addressed. And it's an ongoing issue. And sometimes appointments are all very well, but sometimes people need to go to the doctor, and they just go to the doctor and expect to be seen. It's a difficult one. It really is a difficult one. But maybe it does need to be reevaluated, and maybe what we also need to do is get some sort of a national campaign to ensure that we have sufficient GPs, because we know there are parts of the county now where health centres are not operational and GPs are being centralised. So if you are in an area where you previously had a GP, now you may have to go to the next area. And what that's basically doing is that's just piling extra patients onto the GP in the next area. So it isn't as though there's an extra GP being brought in to take this new influx. There isn't. It's just more and more and more people being dealt with by the same GPs. So they're trying to bring in these appointment systems and these systems to make it easier and to make it more workable, but it's not always going to work, and it's going to cause problems. Caller says, I remember watching videos in the 90s about farms. 13-14-year-olds were driving tractors in the videos. You're not allowed to drive until you're 16. Cameras distract farmers. We can't promote this. That's a fair point. I do beg your pardon. Now, looking at a few more of your comments. I wonder if Simon Harris was brought through the gridlock of traffic on Friday from the Dry Arch into the town, and what if there was a real emergency situation with ambulance and fire trucks trying to get through it? I'm sure Simon Harris was, and I'm sure he did experience the traffic issues in Letterkenny. When I exit a building, I stand in the doorway and check the footpath left and right before exiting or yielding to all types of traffic on the footpath, pedestrian or otherwise. That harks back to our discussion about the bicycles and the e-scooters earlier. This issue has been spoken about now for months, says a caller, and still nothing is being done. I haven't seen a guard or a traffic warden stop a single person on a bike or a scooter on the footpaths. What will the councillors do about them? The cyclists and users seem to be unaware of the speed they're doing and the impact of them and their bike or scooter on a person, especially the elderly. Now, query that came in, and we have a query, and I think we have an answer here as well. Just give me a moment. We've been overwhelmed by the amount. This is from the County Secretary of Donegal GAA. We've been overwhelmed by the amount of teams that have entered our 50th anniversary celebrations day on July 21st. That was yesterday. We unfortunately had to make a few decisions due to health and safety, and will have to cap the numbers of children playing to 500. There are 1,533 children looking to take part on the day. It's a great sign for ladies football. Under the existing Go Games programme, there are all county blitzes planned for those ages as well. So those who don't get to play on the 21st will have plenty of opportunity at others. The Go Games committee will do a draw to decide which teams will be coming, but every club that's entered will have at least one team there. Numbers per team will be capped as well. We're hoping to have the team selected sent out later. Now, this is from last week, obviously. Apologise for this, but we did not anticipate the demand. Now, we're going to go to the phone because we are joined on line one by Raymond, who is an American with a dual Irish and American citizenship who is living in this country. Raymond, good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you? How's the form?
I'm very well. The form's grand with me. Thank you very much indeed. Now, you vote independent. And I'm going to ask you, as an independent, what your take is on the big news story of the past 24 hours has been, which is, of course, that Joe Biden is stepping aside.
Donald, it's sort of difficult. I mean, in a sense, I sort of feel sorry for Joe Biden. You know, he's had a number of health issues that I guess have been sort of documented over the last number of months in here. And, you know, he's getting on. I mean, there are people in the United States well into their 90s that, you know, 100%, you know. And, I mean, it's a lot of pressure being, obviously, an American president in here. But, you know, like, there's a lot of, I'm an independent. There's a lot of things I would totally disagree with, you know, Joe Biden on his foreign policy in different areas of the world, et cetera, here. You know, but having said that, you know, last week there was a Republican National Convention, and Donald Trump gave a speech, and it was like 90 minutes long. And Trump, at least in my view, he had maybe a once-in-a-century opportunity to sort of unite the country. You know, he could have came out and said, let's make America great together instead of let's make America great again. And that would have, you know, changed the whole dynamics, because there's tremendous division in the United States, and, you know, there's a lot of inequality too. You know, it's far from being perfect these days. So, like, I sort of feel sad for Biden in here, because it's, you know, at the end of the day, it's almost a humiliation for him.
Yeah. But the reality is, the debate crystallized everything. But even since the debate and the mistake at the United Nations introducing Zelensky as Putin, and the clamour within the Democratic Party, it started with a few quiet words in the ear. And maybe should Joe Biden and his confidants and his family have seen the writing on the wall then and not allowed it drag on as long as it did? Because, I mean, the one thing that I can't agree with this morning in all the coverage is people say Joe Biden's shock withdrawal. I think we had got to the point where it would have been a shock if he didn't.
I mean, Donald, this has sort of been going on for a number of years in here. Everything is, from what I gather, has been kept very, very quiet. I mean, he's got a lot of confidence, and there's almost like a iron curtain around him that, you know, publicly this is the way it is, and what happens privately, you can't penetrate into it. And, a lot of this stuff, it almost goes back to Barack Obama. In his last year as president, he endorsed Hillary Clinton, and he basically wanted nothing to do with Joe Biden, and Joe Biden was his presidency. And had Biden run in 2016 as opposed to Hillary Clinton, the likelihood would have been he would have beaten Donald Trump, and there wouldn't be any of the issues that currently exist in here. And then I understand 2020, Obama was basically really didn't want Biden back to run for president. And so, I don't know how you frame a lot of this. It's difficult.
Does Kamala Harris, if, as is being presumed, Kamala Harris, the incumbent vice president, now takes the nomination, and there's a lot of discussion, I'm sure, to be done, does Kamala Harris has a chance, or is this election now Trump's to lose?
It was Trump's to lose had he seized the moment a week ago, and instead of a sort of a rambling 90-minute speech, gave a 20 or 30-minute speech and said, let's everybody get united. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I've made mistakes in the past. I just survived an assassination attempt by, the grace of God, by a quarter of an inch in here, and, I'm a new person. He had that opportunity. Now, Kamala Harris, I grew up in San Francisco. She grew up directly across the bridge, the San Francisco-Oakland Bay Bridge from me. So I don't, and she went on to become the Attorney General in California. And from what I read, she was a prosecutor, and she was how do you put it, a totally ruthless prosecutor. Like if you were a black man and her father was from Jamaica, and you got caught on some little marijuana situation or something else, I mean, she had her people just throw the book at you, and there were thousands, that were tossed into prison in California, and then a little later on, she came up with this thing: if you were a parent and your child missed, say, 10% of the school days, you were a truant, and she went after and dragged you into court in a good number of cases.
And do you think decisions like that are going to come back to bite her in this forthcoming campaign?
Yeah, because she doesn't really have a, they're pushing, she was this tremendous prosecutor, but, okay, the ladies, her mother, I think, was from India. Her father was from Jamaica. Yeah. She was the first minority person of color to be, Attorney General or whatever in San Francisco, whatever the term is, elected. And, Trump is going to go after her on a lot of stuff in here. And then there's a whole issue, I think it was mentioned on one of your bulletins earlier. You can't suddenly switch parties in different states in the United States if you're running for. You can't put up a new candidate running for the U.S. presidency.
And I'm sure there's got to be a lot of discussion now. Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of primaries already taking place. There's going to have to be a lot of discussion. Do you have to rerun primaries? How do you actually endorse a new candidate? And that's got to be done. The reality of politics in the U.S., and time is against us, Raymond, so excuse me if I push you here. The reality of politics in the U.S. is, by and large, 36, 37 states are pretty much guaranteed. There are some states, California, New York, etc., are going to vote for the Democrat nominee, whoever he or she may be. There are several states who will vote for Trump, just will do because they're red states. There's red states and blue states. There's maybe 12, 13 swing states, the states that are going to have to be won in order to take the presidency. Does Kamala Harris have a chance of taking Trump in any of those swing states?
There's probably, instead of maybe a dozen, there's half a dozen really critical ones. And I don't know that she has a chance. And there's talk. I mean, you got, West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin, who's a Democrat, very conservative. He deregistered as a Democrat a couple of months ago, and he's apparently re-registering right now because he wants to get involved. Then you have Robert Kennedy Jr.
Raymond,
who
I'm going to cut
polling
across you.
attendance.
Raymond, I'm going to cut across. I mean, I think this is an important conversation, but we have to take headlines. If you don't mind, I'm going to cut across. I'm going to take the headlines with Michaela. I'm going to take a break, and I'll come back to you because I don't want to rush you on this. So I'll just take a break and come back if you don't mind.
Certainly. Thank you.
This is the Lindsay Noon Show on Highland Radio. It's 2 minutes past 11, and with apologies for my tardiness, I'll say good morning to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Donal. Good morning. A housing protest is taking place in West Donegal later this week. The Build Houses campaign is calling on Donegal County Council to ensure more homes are built in the Glenties Municipal District. Just 6 properties have been built by the council in the area over the past 5 years. The demonstration is due to get underway at 5 p.m. on Thursday at Dunlo's Public Services Centre. There's calls for greater enforcement of laws which prohibit the use of e-scooters and bikes on footpaths. It's after a woman, upon exiting Katrina's hair salon in Letterkenny on Saturday, was knocked off her feet by an oncoming cyclist. The woman was hospitalised as a result. Salon owner Katrina O'Donnell is calling on councillors within the Letterkenny-Milford Municipal District to use their position to ensure signage is erected and that there's a clampdown on the use of scooters and bikes on footpaths. In the US, Republicans are warning they'll file legal challenges if Joe Biden drops off the Democratic ticket in the presidential election race. House Speaker Mike Johnson says it may be against the law in some states for the winner of a major party's primary election to be replaced on the ticket by another candidate. A retired Donegal Garda has received a 6-figure sum after alleging he was defamed on the Garda Pulse system. Garda Commissioner Drew Harris paid out the money to settle a legal action taken by Kevin English, who claimed he was defamed. Over a third of people in Donegal who sought respite care in the past year were not facilitated. 640 respite applications were submitted in the past 12 months, with 422 of those fulfilled, while the remaining 218 people in need of respite care were unable to acquire the services. The low availability of respite care has been blamed on the closure of beds due to refurbishment works being carried out, staffing issues and outbreaks of COVID. And the Taoiseach has joined a number of politicians who are calling for a ban on sunbeds. Micheál Martin has raised concerns over the popular use of them in Ireland and their links to cancer. A recent study from University College Cork found that more than 2 in 5 people have used a tanning bed in Ireland. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon.
Well, wait till you hear why thousands of families are going full Lidl.
So I'd buy the special flakes, the Brent flakes, multigrain hoops or Wheatbix. They're my 4 cereals every week.
Porridge and granola in our house.
Oh, and granola?
Super nutty granola is gorgeous. On top of the porridge. And then blueberries. Keep you going for the day, like.
Go on, go full Lidl today.
Thank you for attending this meditation session for badgers who forgot to check for gas pipes before digging, without knowing how disruptive it could be. Putting others at risk and doing it unknowingly for all their working life. And it could have been avoided had they just checked in the first place. Let's begin.
Always check for gas pipelines before you break ground. Visit gasnetworks.ie/dig for more information.
Raymond Sweeney here to introduce you to heat pump tumble dryers. With these dryers you can save up to 50% on energy use, enjoy softer clothes, and thanks to advanced sensor drying technology, you will have wrinkle-free laundry every time. Upgrade your drying experience today with a heat pump tumble dryer, now available at Ben Sweeney Euronics, Port Road, Letterkenny, or the shopping centre, Dunlow.
Attention, Century Play is now open. We're open from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. 7 days a week for endless fun with exciting new features. Visit us today for unforgettable memories in the largest playframe in the Northwest. We're also now taking kids' party bookings. Call us on 074 9121976 for more information.
Introducing the new Buffalo Tower Burger from KFC. Height meets heat with so many tasty ingredients that they probably won't fit into this radio ad. But here goes. A spicy zinger fillet, lashings of sensationally tangy buffalo sauce, a crunchy golden hash brown, cheese, crisp, fresh lettuce and burger dressing, all topped with a delicious glazed sesame seed bun. Phew. The Buffalo Tower Burger. Grab it before it goes. Available until October 6th while stocks last. Participating restaurants only. Full T's and C's at kfc.ie.
Final hour of the 9 till noon show on this Monday morning, and we've been speaking to Raymond about the US presidential election and the withdrawal of President Joe Biden from the race last night. The expectation that incumbent Vice President Kamala Harris will take the spot, assuming all the various legal issues with primaries previously held can be ironed out and that candidacy can be confirmed. Raymond, we were speaking before the break about the swing states, and you believe that there's maybe half a dozen crucial states for Kamala Harris, and she has an uphill battle to win them.
Donald, I think she has a serious uphill battle. The situation in Gaza is, beyond. I don't know what diplomatic term you can use in here. There is an awful lot of Muslims in, like, Michigan. Michigan is a must-win state. They're extremely, and for very, very good reason, upset at what Biden has done in here, and it's like, I don't know. Biden has there's something like 14,000 1-ton and quarter-ton bombs have been shipped to Israel, and a huge amount of military support, intelligence support, and it's all been targeted at civilians in here, and she's got a serious uphill battle in here. In a number of these swing states, because it's, there's an issue with Kamala Harris in here, and I don't know, the American term, I think it's called a word salad. Like, she is unable to express herself on occasion. She's like, gets in a pretzel. She's saying the same thing over in different ways, and like she starts at something and it's supposed to be the ending, and then she's back at the start. And it's, people are scratching their heads like, what did you say there? So I really don't know. I mean, Kamala, she's out there, and then, this Robert Kennedy Jr., he's polling at 10%. He was a Democrat. Now he's trying to run as an independent. 10% is, it's a big number over there. And, the Democratic Party at the top, effectively demonized him. He was the worst thing since Satan came along. And then there was a CNN debate there, I guess a month ago, that started all this with, Joe Biden in here, and they kept him off the CNN debate. Yeah. And, so you're talking to democracy, and you only have two people that can debate, and somebody's getting 10%, but, he doesn't qualify. He's a nobody in here. And so, it's an unfortunate situation overall in here. It's not, enlightening. And, it sets a sort of a poor example for the rest of the world when they're all talking about, democracies and everything that's associated with it. And I mean, Pete, there's another issue coming up here. Suppose Donald Trump wins the election. Donald Trump is death on taxes, on corporate taxes especially. He lowered the corporate tax rates from, I don't know, it was 36 or 37.5%, somewhere around there, down to 21%, which is a massive drop. He has told all the big corporations he's going to drop it further to 15%. Now, the current taxes expire at the end of 2025. He drops it to 15%. The people in Dublin better start paying attention, because foreign direct investment is going to be, changed substantially, because, there won't be any advantages to setting up in Ireland here. And, all the Googles and the Microsofts that run everything through with these Dutch sandwiches or whatever they used to be called in here, they won't have any reason to do that anymore. So, like, there's possibly, serious changes, a year and a half, but I can't predict the future, obviously.
Well, the next number of months are going to be very interesting indeed, to say the least. Raymond, listen, thank you very much indeed for holding on and for sharing your perspective with us. We'll be speaking to you again, I'm sure, no doubt, in the coming weeks and months. But a lot of talking to be done over the next while, and it's great to have your perspective on it. Raymond, for the moment, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Donald. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Raymond. Bye-bye. It's been a pleasure. That's Raymond there. He's a dual Irish-American citizenship. He's living here. He's an independent voter, and that's his take on the current situation. Now, earlier on, we were talking about GP appointments, and one of the things people can do sometimes is leave us WhatsApp voice messages. And this is one of our callers, and this is their perspective on the issue of GP appointments.
Hi, Greg. I phoned the surgery on Thursday to get appointment with the doctor on Monday, and I was told she was full up. She was off Tuesday, and I was told to ring in the following next Wednesday. So on Friday morning, I decided to ring again. I got a different secretary, and she told me I could have appointment for Monday morning, 10 to 10. And I've been in this morning and seen the doctor. So I don't know what's going on with these doctors, these surgeries, or these secretaries, because one couldn't give me an appointment and the other one could. So I don't know. Thank you. Bye.
And that's a story from one of our listeners, and thanks to our listener for sharing that with us. That's just one story of many. It's the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. It's 30 minutes past 11. We're going to take a short break. In a moment, we'll be speaking about pharmacies in Ireland and their funding.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
McElhinney's summer sale is here. Grab your favourite designer brands for a fraction of the price. We have a massive 50% off your favourite designer fashion, home, jewellery and beauty brands. Make your savings go further on sterling cash purchases with a €1.20 rate. Shop the sale rails this summer at McElhinney's Ballbuffet or online at mcelhinney's.com.
For all your training needs, Northwest Forestry Services Training Department Ballybofey offer a wide range of courses from training bodies such as NPTC City and Guilds, QQI, LADRA and ABA International. Courses include all land-based services such as chainsaw, tree climbing and rescue, pesticides, working in heights and ATV training. Other courses offered include first aid responder, manual handling and building safety, to name but a few. For a full list of training courses and availability, contact Northwest Forestry Services Ballybofey on 074 91 32033.
Sometimes it's just bad luck, but sometimes it's negligence. From minor bumps to life-changing injury, every accident has a story. Time to call McElhinney and Associates. They'll assess the situation, advise on solutions, and lead the way if any litigation is to follow. From motor accidents and workplace accidents to slips, trips and falls, call today on 074 917 5989 or find us online. Let's get you started on the road to recovery. McElhinney and Associates Solicitors Stranorlar. How can we help? In contentious business, a solicitor may not calculate fees or other charges as a percentage or proportion of any award or settlement.
Foy & Company in Ballybofey and Letterkenny are the largest stockists of paint and wallpapers in the Northwest. Our qualified colour consultants and interior design team will help you create a beautiful space designed for your needs. We work with commercial and residential customers, have all the largest brands and can match any colour. We stock all the interior and exterior paint along with all the painting accessories you'll need to completely transform your space at Foy & Company in Letterkenny and Ballybofey.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is
11:15, and you're welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Donal Kavanagh with you until, as the name suggests, 12 noon. Now, joined on the line by Kathy Marr, who's a pharmacist and the chair of the Pharmacy Contracts Committee of the IPU, the Irish Pharmacy Union. Kathy, good morning, and thank you for joining us. Kathy, funding in pharmacies, 1 in 10 operating at a loss and struggling to survive, and a part of that problem is the fact that HSE funding hasn't changed with the times.
Absolutely not. And you're very, very right there, Donald. 10% of pharmacies are operating at a loss, and that means that they're not viable. They're really just hanging on by their fingertips. Most people and most of your listeners will know pharmacy as the hub of all of their communities. We are dedicated to patient care. But we're at a position now where 10% are unviable and another 30% are very, very close to becoming unviable. Our funding model hasn't changed since 2009. We have been on a 16-year pay freeze since 2009. When the country was in a financial crisis, we had FEMPI, which was the Financial Emergency Measures in the Public Interest Act. And pharmacies, like many other sectors around the country, were cut in terms of their payments and their fees, but ours has not changed in 2009. To be honest, I don't know any other sector that is on the same pay scale 16 years later. We're calling on the government with our pre-budget submission to end the 16-year pay freeze, to treat us fairly and to invest in pharmacy as we go forward. And it's interesting to hear the comments around GP care and GP appointments. We know that pharmacists play such an important role in the delivery of healthcare to patients. And as professionals, we have the highest trust rating in the country for any professional at 97% trust rating by the public. And that is above any other profession, GP, nurse, teacher, politician. And that's because people do want to get the service from us, but we can't do it at a loss anymore.
And there's a follow-on question from that, because it's interesting to note, particularly over the course of the past year, that when we, as we often do with the case of Letterkenny University Hospital, and there's pressure on the emergency department, you get the standard. Now, I know it's going to be the same in every part of the country. Every university hospital and acute hospital in the country will have similar messages, I'm sure, where we're saying to people, please only go to the accident and emergency unit or the emergency department in case of an urgent emergency. Please consider other options, including the out-of-hours GP service, and what's coming more and more to these messages from the HSC and your local pharmacy, which can very often be the first stop for help and advice. And the HSC is pushing the pharmacies for help and advice, and is doing so, it seems to me, more and more over the course of the past year or so. And that presumably is going to give you more work. It's going to put you under more pressure, as it were, and that's effectively going to add further to the pressure you're under already.
Absolutely. I'm an independent pharmacist. I bought my pharmacy 19 years ago, and I just know the pressure that we're all under constantly. I've just returned from a week off, and my last week off was this time last year, and I've had no time off in between because we're trying to do as much as we can for the public. 82% of dispensing income for pharmacies across the country is reliant on state funding. 82%. So which really means about 60% of my overall income relies on the government at a rate that Infill paid from 2009. When I look at comparators such as public, other public service workers, professionals, other service providers, most people have had their increase. FEMPI has been unwound, and most people have had their salaries, fees, or allowances increased by about 27% in those 16 years. And that's at a time when the average fee per pharmacy per prescription item dispensed has dropped by 24%. When we add in, as a business owner, when I add in cost of living for my staff, I need to make sure that my staff still have a decent cost of living, the cost of doing business. So we've seen statutory sick pay come in and will continue to increase up until 2026. The minimum wage has significantly increased over the past number of years. And then the just cost of doing business, trying to keep my doors open, it means that it is year on year becoming very, very difficult to keep my doors open and provide the level of service that I want to provide. Our dispensing fee is also very punitive in that it reduces as the month goes on. So it is €5 for the first 1,600 items in a month. And for most average pharmacies, that means by about day 6 of the month, my fee drops, and it drops for the next 800 items. So by day 10 of the month, I am then on $350. And to me, as a business owner and a healthcare provider, that tells me that the government thinks that the patient that comes into me on the last day of the month is worth less than the patient that comes into me at the first day of the month. And I know as a healthcare professional, I'm giving them the same level of service and care that I do regardless. But in all of that, in that $350, I have to cover all of my overheads, the supervision, the height, the heat, the light, the rent, everything that I have to do to keep my business open. And at a time when we know that, that WhatsApp message I've just played, talking around appointment times, my level of care is unscheduled. And I do not know what's walking in to the pharmacy at any given time. I need to make sure all prescriptions are dispensed in a safe and effective manner. The patients are given care and healthcare advice. And very often pharmacists we've emergency medicines, we have emergency situations that arise, and we're also delivering. I'm now looking ahead to a winter season of vaccinations again. It's exceptionally busy, and we need the government to pay us appropriately for what we currently do and look forward and invest in a sector that can really, really make a difference to the public.
And I'm sure you do have issues too when people will come in with, I had a situation, I was visiting home once in Waterford, and I forgot my prescription, and I went into the local pharmacy in Tramore in Waterford and managed to get the pharmacy in Tramore, rang the pharmacy I normally use in Letterkenny, and they had a conversation and they gave me an emergency supply, and that came off my next prescription, and it was, and that was facilitated, but that took two pharmacists on a phone probably 5, 6, 7 minutes just to sort out that, because obviously they didn't want to give me the prescription without proof that I needed it. So, you know, and I'm sure you find yourself doing things like that all the time, where it's not always just, here's a prescription, please fill it, there you go, thank you very much. I'm sure you find yourself on a regular basis involved in situations
Absolutely
like that.
not. Exactly. I could be on the phone 30, 40 times a day between conversations like you've just described, onto hospitals, onto GPs, onto consultants, onto nurses, onto dentists. Sometimes correcting prescriptions because there's been errors, sometimes trying to assess if the medicine has been prescribed in the right therapeutic appropriateness, whether the dose is right, the duration is right, maybe there's an allergy, maybe there's a shortage. But just to show, on the 1st of September, that's about to arrive, there's a facility in place. The legislation means that we will be able to extend prescriptions for some patients, but we still don't know as a sector what the framework around that is to be. We don't know what will be paid for it. We don't know how it's going to work. And I know it's August in, 10 days. So we just need the government to look at us as a sector, to treat us fairly, to treat us as they treat other sectors. Let's look forward at what we can deliver for patients, to make sure that patient care is the first and foremost priority, but that we have to be funded for our core role and what we do day to day, and then look forward what extended services we can do. The time that you described of two pharmacists having that 6-7 minute phone call and exchanging the legal framework by which they need to, so forward, and you're probably having to forward on an email prescription from one pharmacy to the other. There will be no funding for that. There's no cost covered there. Many of your listeners will know, previous to the pandemic, you would have gone to the GP, you would have had a piece of paper, and you would have come back into the pharmacy, and we would have used that piece of paper as your prescription. Because of the pandemic, things had to change in a very emergent, very rapid fashion, and most prescriptions now come into us via healthmail, an encrypted email service. What most patients and what most public don't realise is that now front loads all of the cost to pharmacy, because the legislation didn't change, and the legislation still requires me as a pharmacist to print every single prescription. So it's estimated the pharmacists are printing 78 million A4 sheets a year in Ireland. Now, the cost of the paper, the cost of the ink, on average is costing maybe 3,000 or 4,000 per year per pharmacy. And none of that has been funded by the HSE, the Department of Health. That's just one small example of costs that are continuously being levelled on us to try and deliver the same level of service on the fee that we're still receiving from 2009.
And to be honest, as a patient, I'm one of those people, and I had no idea that was the case. I guilty as charged. I'm one of those people who think that this is one of the better things that came out of the pandemic, because now everything is online. I can ring the GP when I need it to be extended. I ring the pharmacy and I say, I'm going to drop up and pick up my prescription in 10 minutes. Lovely, Donal, we'll see you then. It's grand. I mean, to me, it's really, really handy that everything now can be done either on, I can ring them, give them advance, I'm coming, they'll have it ready, I'll walk in, how's it going, there you go, thanks very much indeed. And I walk out and all is sorted. And I suppose we don't think about what goes on in the background to actually facilitate that and make it happen.
I still have to print it. I have to print 2 copies if it's a patient with a medical card, or I have to claim from the state schemes. So 82% of my prescriptions are from the state scheme, so medical card, long-term illness, drug payment scheme. I have to print them twice because I'll have to submit for payment. And then the original copy that I've printed has to be stored I have to stamp it and endorse it as I would have done pre-pandemic with an old-fashioned piece of paper. And then I have to store it on my premises for 2 years. In my role within the Irish Pharmacy Union, I'm part of the negotiation process that we're in with the government, trying to, in with the Department of Health, asking for to be treated fairly and to be treated in a non-discriminatory fashion as other healthcare workers have been. I did invite department officials to come to my pharmacy, and they did actually see a room. We call it the yellow bag room because we must store our prescriptions per month in a yellow bag. So I have at any one point at least 24 months of paperwork that has to be stored. And then when it comes to destroying it, I have to pay for all of my destruction, for my, obviously, the confidential shredding and all of that.
Yep, and that
so
can't be just tossed into a bin.
That, absolutely not. So to think that the $3.50 dispensing fee has to cover the paper as I've described, the ink as I've described, but also, first and foremost, I'm a healthcare professional. I want to deliver the best care for my patient. So I have to review a prescription, make sure that it's complete, authentic and legal. I need to make sure that it's the right medicine for the right condition at the right dose for the right durations. I check for interactions. We have to check for allergic reactions, clinical abuse or misuse. We'd go through all of that before I even dispense it. And then once I dispense it, I go out to the patient and I chat about the name of the medicine, the dosage, the route of administration, what to expect from a medicine, what to expect as side effects, what to do if there's a problem, what to do if there's a dose missed. All of that has to come in, and that's for $350. And to be quite frank, it's not enough. As I said, I bought my pharmacy in 2005, so it's 19 years next month, and I haven't finished paying it off, like most pharmacists around the country.
Do you believe that those negotiations may become more, shall we say, confrontational, and that it may end up with pharmacists actually taking action to force the government's hand?
I think what we have to see is pharmacists have to look at an awful lot of what we do for free, such as the situation that you just described, or what often happens, and I'm sure you've done it yourself, or if you have young children, you've perhaps popped into a pharmacist to say, look, will you have a look at my child's rash, or they've had a fall, or something has happened, could you pop into the consultation room, we'll have a chat. And I could be in there for 15 or 20 minutes, and I might end up referring you into a GP, into A&E, and off you go, being very well looked after by a very clinically skilled healthcare professional. No money will have exchanged hands. So I won't have been paid for that consultation. So at some point, pharmacists do have to look at what do we do for free, and we can't afford to subsidise the government. Another thing that we talk about is disposal of unused medicines. So many people will bring back unused medicines to the pharmacy to be destroyed, because obviously there's a safety issue. Accidental overdose and accidental poisoning, or deliberate poisoning, deliberate overdose, research and safety, public health concern, and we have an environmental concern should unused medicines go into the environment, either through burning, through flushing down the toilet, and all sorts of other ways that we hear. But actually, no destruction of medicine scheme is funded by the Department of Health. Yeah. So all of that has to be funded by the pharmacist, and it costs $300 or $400 every 6 weeks to have these yellow bins taken to Belgium and have them incinerated correctly and efficiently. So many pharmacists have now had to start saying to patients, we can't take that back anymore. There's a health and safety risk to my own staff, because to be quite frank, sometimes we find things in bin bags that we really wouldn't want to have to put our hands on. Yeah. But also, it's too costly. I can't have the labour cost of someone de-blistering things for hours, but I can't actually afford to have the private fee to have to go and get that collected. That's another thing.
Could we potentially face a situation down the line where pharmacists actually start taking direct action?
I think pharmacists will start to close. It's anticipated, so the same report, the Fitzgerald Power Annual Sector Review Report, anticipated that 500 pharmacists will close over the next 5 years. And that's fairly stark. And when we look at our nearest neighbours, both in the UK and Northern Ireland, and I'm from Northern Ireland originally, and I've seen very many of my colleagues either working fewer hours or not finding jobs. In England alone, more than 1,000 pharmacies have closed in the past 3 years, and 400 of those were in 2023 alone. I think up until this point in 2024, we've another 300 closures in England, and many of those are in areas of social deprivation where pharmacy need is really, really essential. But pharmacies can't continue to operate at a loss because the government there haven't acknowledged that not only do fees need to increase, but they also need to link in, there needs to be linkage, they need to link in with either the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, or with the Public Pay Index as well. You know, every public sector worker, their pay goes up by a certain increment per year to match in with inflation. We know the public sector workers are going to have pay increases of between 10 and 17% over the next 2 years. And as a private sector who's funding, who's reliant on state funding for 82% of my business, it's very hard to stomach that. So are we going to take action? I certainly say that a lot of the things that I do unfunded, I won't be in a position to do in the months coming forward.
Cathy Marr, Chair of the Pharmacy Contracts Committee of the IPU, thank you very much indeed for speaking to us this morning.
Thank you, Donal.
Thank you, Cathy. It's 29 minutes to 12 noon. Going to take a short break. Back after this.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
It's the 50% off mega summer sale at Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring. Up to 50% off all tiles, wood flooring, outdoor porcelain tiles, cladding and bathware. Everything in store has been slashed in price. The Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring 50% off mega summer sale. Stores nationwide. Sale extended until Sunday.
Hey, Got some old household electrical appliances or batteries lying around? Recycle them for free with We Ireland in partnership with Donegal County Council at our special collection day on Wednesday 24th of July in Killybegs at the Shore Road Car Park Killybegs from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We'll accept anything household with a plug or battery. See weireland.ie.
Driving on properly inflated tyres will reduce your fuel consumption, extend the life of your tyres, and it's better for the environment. Get your tyres checked by a Circle ELT member today. There are almost 3,000 member outlets nationwide. Circle ELT, Ireland's tyre compliance scheme, and its members help recycle and recover over 4 million tyres every year. To find out more, visit circleelt.ie. Circle End of Life Tyres. Driving a sustainable tomorrow.
If you're painting outside your home or business premises, Watson Hire have a brilliant deal on Storm Shield exterior paint. Get 3 10-litre buckets of white Johnson's Storm Shield for $119.95 or 3 buckets of coloured Storm Shield for just $149.95. Johnson's Storm Shield is rainproof in 20 minutes. Ideal for the Donegal weather, and Watson's can mix thousands of colours. Call in and talk to the paint specialist for advice and see loads more paint deals in store at Watson Hire, Lisnenan, Letterkenny.
Looking to advance your career? At Atlantic Technological University, we can help you. Choose from over 370 online and part-time courses across Donegal, Sligo, Galway and Mayo. Build accredited qualifications in science, health, engineering, computing, business, education, design and more. From short courses to masters, study in a supportive learning environment designed to suit you. Apply now at atu.ie/flexible learning. ATU. Embark on your learning journey your way.
This is the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio, and we are joined in studio by Paul Harkin, and Paul is the chair of the Ballybofey and Stranraer Chamber of Commerce. Paul, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Donal.
Paul, great to have you here. There has been a major rebranding of the Chamber in the Twin Towns, and you're looking ahead to really getting more active in the business life of the area.
Yeah, in addition to what the Chamber has traditionally done for the businesses in Ballybofey, we intend to become more business orientated. I suppose there's a sense maybe of less of what the business can do for the Chamber and more about what the Chamber can do for the business. So with that in mind, Donal, we have an exciting year planned ahead. Breakfast briefings is something we see becoming the norm, where we talk about things that are really, relevant to business in terms of health and safety, IR, HR, energy costs, retaining staff. There's a huge array of things out there at the minute, that are challenging for business. So, and then I suppose our main event this year is our awards night. Business Awards, which is the first to be done in the Twin Towns. Looking forward to that. Loads of awards on the night, both business and community. Things like Customer Service Award, Large Business, Small Business Award, Community Award, Sports Facility, and I suppose one that we're definitely looking forward to is the Lifetime Achievement Award.
And this is going to involve, obviously, interaction with the community and getting people involved, and I'm sure you'll be announcing over the course of the coming weeks how you want people to make their votes and get involved in all that.
Yeah, all that'll unfold, Donal, as this develops. But look, it's just about, as you say, getting more interaction both with the community and the business sector. Certainly we see the Chamber going forward too as being, more in terms of for community-based, sports facilities, different things, organisations, to get them involved as well.
And there will still, of course, be involvement in things like Christmas lights and Patrick's Day, things like that. Chamber will still be playing an active role in the community in terms of those particular events.
Well, look, the Chamber has always done these things in the past and will continue to do that in the future. I suppose people, when they talk about these events, they talk about the monetary cost to putting these on. But in addition to that, Donal, there's huge manpower issue there. So, certainly we would like to see more people get involved to support such events in the town. You stand on a Christmas week or 2 weeks before Christmas and you're switching on the Christmas lights and it can be cold and wet, but there's a good feel factor there. people are in good spirits and all. Last year, just so people are aware, the Chamber actually allocated an additional 10,000 to putting up new lights in the town. I'm sure anybody that visited the town or drove through the towns would have particularly seen the enhanced area around the bridge with lights. So
absolutely,
that's the kind of things the Chamber's involved in.
The rebranding is something that was planned for a while. It's an important one because I suppose it refocuses you in terms of your view of what Chamber is doing, but also it's going to refocus the view of the community and the community's maybe appreciation of Chamber. And maybe something like Chamber of Commerce is something the community can take for granted. And maybe part of this is you saying to the community, look, we're playing a really important role here. Please recognise that.
Well, look, as I say, that's what it's about. It's getting more involvement. We would certainly like to see more and more businesses come on board, because at the end of the day, it's like we say, we're stronger together. Strength is in numbers. But look, it doesn't matter what you try to do, Donal. It takes a huge effort on behalf of people to put it together. Certainly in the past we've struggled in terms of getting bodies. Like, as I say, even the Christmas lights, you need a certain amount of people to be there to steward the night. You need people to clean up after. There's so much involved in putting on these things. But look, from our perspective as a new Chamber, we would like to, see these things being enhanced going forward, and certainly try and bring more people on board. We've had a few workshops already that were quite successful. We recently had DLDC on talking to us about contracts of employment and grievance procedures, things that are very important to businesses, but unfortunately not all businesses might just be aware of their obligations in relation to these things. So we'd certainly see, breakfast briefings and stuff like that becoming the norm going forward, and just, a sense of trying to make it more relevant to business, make it more appealing to business in terms of, what they would like to see from their Chamber.
There was a discussion on the programme earlier on this morning, I don't know if you've heard it, with regards to the state of the road going through the Twin Towns and the need for a resurfacing project to take place on the road there. I mean, as the owner of Harkin Scala, you, Paul, will be more aware than most about the road issues in the Twin Towns, and I'm sure you'd love to see both short-term and long-term action to ease the situation. And I suppose really when it comes to it, the long-awaited Twin Towns bypass can't come quickly enough, I presume.
Well, look, you're right about that, Donal. I mean, the town does be congested a lot of times, just in relation to the roads, and upkeep of the roads. Like, it's very important to have a very strong Chamber when roadworks and things like that take place. Like, I'm no stranger to that myself. I know in the past, and the Donegal Road, it's all been resurfaced at one stage. It took 9 months. And I know, like, from my perspective, the Chamber certainly helped me in terms of, opening up doors to people that, I needed to talk to in terms of, how we were going to make that as painless as possible for me during that period. So, look, you're right, certainly, it'd be welcome to see improvements in the town in terms of the road service. But it's also important for the Chamber to be there and a good voice in terms of, making sure that happens, with as minimum disruption to business as possible. I
know Chamber has traditionally had a good relationship with Donegal County Council, both in terms of the executive and in terms of the members of the Lifford Stranorlar MD, and I'm sure that is going to continue into the future. And those discussions with Donegal County Council about things like the roads and other things as well are going to be a really important part of what the Chamber does and what you will be doing as chair.
Well, without a doubt, Donal, in the past we've often had to meet with the council in terms of different things that were happening in the town. And look, as I say, they have a job to do too, and sometimes it's quite difficult for them. But look, in fairness to them, they've always been very cooperative and very supportive in terms of the businesses in the town and the impact that such things can have on the business.
Just remind us again, Paul, before we finish, with regards to the awards ceremony, the first ever business awards in the Twin Towns that take place in the Villa Rose on Saturday, October 5th.
Yeah, so it takes place in the Villa Rose on Saturday, October the 5th. First time to do it, so there's huge interest in it. Tickets for the event are €50 each, or you can book a table of 10 for €400. There's still some sponsorship opportunities available for the night, so we'd look forward to somebody if they're willing to put their name forward for that. So look, it's an exciting night, not just in recognising the businesses in the town, but also recognising the community at large. Some of the organisations in the town that play a huge part in the things that happen around the Twin Towns. Just Donal, if I could too mention the Base Centre in Ballybofey and Dean Gillespie and his team in Basic. They provide invaluable support to the Chamber. Without that support, it would be extremely difficult for us to do what we do. But not just the Chamber, in terms of what happens in the wider community in the Twin Towns and surrounding areas, be it funding for the town, be it the public realm, be it the upkeep of the towns, Basic is certainly at the heart of everything that happens in the Twin Towns, and they do phenomenal work on behalf of the town. So I would just like to thank them for that today.
And that ongoing community engagement between people like that, between yourselves, between the council and between the wider community is going to continue to be a very important part of life in the Twin Towns and the environs. In terms of if anyone wants to get in contact, either with regards to getting a ticket for the awards or a sponsorship, or indeed joining the Chamber, because I'm sure you're always on the lookout for new members, how can they make contact?
Look, you're right, Donal. We would love to, obviously love to grow the membership, because our plan too going forward is that, at some stage we would like to employ a chamber manager who would look after the daily running of the chamber. But look, for anybody looking to get in touch with us, you can email info@bandschamber.com. So that's info@BANDSchamber.com. And you can telephone 91900909. And look, as I say, anybody looking for tickets, especially for the awards night, get in quick, because it is proven to be very popular and tickets are going pretty quick.
Paul Harkin, owner of Harkin's Gala and chair of the Ballybofey and Stranraer Chamber of Commerce. Thank you very much indeed for speaking to us today, and all the best with it, Paul.
Thank you, Donal.
Bus Éireann is looking for professional driving contractors with coaches, minibuses and taxis to join Ireland's school transport scheme. So be a pillar of your community, help steer our children to a brighter future, and start your day with happy smiling faces. Sign up at buseireann.ie/contractors. Bus Éireann operates the school transport scheme on behalf of the Department of Education.
The life of a Charlie's chip is never dull. Once they're selected, they're off to Charlie's, where they lose that jacket, have a nice wash and get into shape. Before going out, there's always a few nerves, totally unnecessary, because, let's face it, they always go down well. Enjoy Charlie's chips to sit in or take away daily from 12 to 8 at Pierce Road, Letterkenny. When the hunger hits, pull into Charlie's.
Need rapid care for a minor injury or fracture? Why wait when you can be seen today at Kingsbridge Northwest Minor Injuries and Fracture Clinic? See a GP with A&E experience and avail of further scans and surgery with highly trained nurses, radiologists and orthopaedic surgeons on site. Available Monday through to Saturday in Ballykelly for Leia insured and self-paying patients. Visit kingsbridgegpclinic.com today for further information.
Go full Lidl for exclusive Lidl Plus Super Savers. Mix and match 3 Irish barbecue meats for €9, like our Bord B approved deluxe best ever Angus burger. And top with grilled Bord B approved Irish mushrooms, 33% off, now 79¢. Scan the Lidl Plus app and go full Lidl today.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhinney's. Support local at McElhinney's. With 53 years experience in fashion, beauty and home, we're here for you. Plus, enjoy M-Card rewards when you shop in-store at McElhinney's Ballybofey.
And Met Éireann tell us that there'll be some sunny spells for a while this afternoon, but I'm afraid they won't last. Rain will spread from the Atlantic, turning heavy at times in the evening. Top temperature 17 to 19 degrees Celsius, light to moderate westerly or variable breezes. A bit better looking tonight. The rain will clear. It'll become mainly dry with clear skies overnight. Lowest overnight temperatures 9 to 11 in a light northwesterly breeze. Tomorrow it'll be mainly dry with some sunshine. Top temperatures 18 or 19. Light northwesterly winds becoming variable in direction. And that's weather for now. Now, comment in a caller says, thank God for pharmacists because they often know more than the doctor, especially when you're a regular, and they're very knowledgeable to deal with. And that indeed is one of the points that Kathy made when we spoke to her, that a pharmacist will know his or her patient. And the pharmacists often find themselves contacting the GP to say, look, are you sure about this prescription because there may be an allergy or the patient may be on another drug that's counterindicated or whatever. And very often pharmacists are fighting rearguard actions like that. Now, there was a report last week that an investigation was launched in Convoy following a fire at a premises which was understood to be attached to rumours in relation to the housing of refugees. Now, we're joined on the line by John. John, good morning.
Morning, Donal.
John, you want to just give some clarification as to what the nature of that fire was, because there may have been some misunderstanding as to what actually happened.
Well, there was a fire, yes, there's no question about it, but it was a dumper truck that was set on fire. There was no buildings whatsoever. And we got a couple of phone calls from relatives in England and even in the States wondering was what building was burned or was a mill burned. There's nothing to that. It was just a dumper truck on the building site sitting in a corner. Now, whether it went on fire or it was set on fire deliberately, the guards are investigating that. But there was a piece put up on Facebook or on social media saying that it was a building that was burned and was on the 6 o'clock news and it was linked into Kula, which has caused a lot of anxiety around the area. And I'm just right on it, looking over at it. And then we heard a bit on social media, somebody coming and doing a video and saying that the houses that have been built on that site are for more planters. Now, planters coming into our town, that was a very provocative word to be using. Condy is a very tight-knit and a very friendly community. We all work together and we have gone through the years, even through the troubles. We all back each other's back, and the community spirit is there, and an outsider comes in and starts spreading stuff like that. There was no fire at all going on. Absolutely no fire except a dumper truck. And that has caused a lot of unease in our area. The people saying the buildings burnt and then linked to Kula. That's bullshit. Sorry for the language.
Yeah. Okay, well, John, thanks for clarifying that. So it was a dumper truck, and we may well hear more about this. Gardaí will be with us tomorrow, of course, for our information slot. Right. And it may well be that this will be one of the issues that they raise on the information slot tomorrow with us. But John, listen, thanks very much indeed. So we can clarify, no building was burnt. It was a dumper truck on a building site. And a video that claims a building was set alight to stop refugees coming to the area. That video is incorrect.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, look, John, thank you very much indeed for that. That's and we're happy to clarify that. That's John there calling us from Convoy. A few of your comments. A caller says, in relation to looking at the council to provide houses instead of the banks should be helping people to get mortgages, giving 100% where necessary. If you can afford rent, you can afford a mortgage, but the deposit is the main issue. Now, another caller says there are 3 factors that need to be acknowledged. Over 10,000 people resettled into Donegal from outside the country, so how can there not be an issue? €800 tax-free payments to landlords accommodating Ukrainians mean other landlords have had to increase their rents just to get a similar rate of return. And the council has been selling its housing stock under the tenant purchase scheme, and that's taking more social housing stock out of the system. And they're points that have been made by callers. Now, my daughter and her 2 friends were meant to travel back to Belfast from Greece on Friday. They booked the holiday with TUI. They got no accommodation on Friday as the TUI reps just wanted to deal with the mature people, left the young 18 to 21-year-olds in the airport. We managed to get them accommodation for Saturday as we couldn't get them in anywhere on Friday night. Everywhere was booked. They'd been at the airport since 11 o'clock. Now, this, and I better go back and you'll recall on Friday last, there was a global outage as a result of a problem between Microsoft and CrowdStrike, and the problem was linked to a software update, and that took a lot of airline, travel, health and other systems offline, and it meant people couldn't get flights, people couldn't get we heard of one case where people got stuck on a cruise ship and weren't allowed to disembark because all their systems were down, and people missed flights as a result. And people saying TUI, and I understand TUI, the company, had people there and they were unable to look after some of their passengers, and people spend quite a lot of time at airports. And the caller is saying, look, one of the biggest problems is they weren't given any information. They were left sitting all day in an airport for hours. They've also been told they're not entitled to compensation, as it is not the fault of the tour operator. One of them was a type 1 diabetic, and there was nothing done to help. And I fear there are many, many stories like that since last Friday, and hopefully at this point all these people that were affected have been sorted. But as I say, a lot of people discommoded by that outage that took place on Friday. Caller says, I've honeybees in my porch. They're very far in. I'm afraid of what may happen. Some days they're quiet, other days they're very noisy. We can see the honey dripping down. We've called a few people, but no joy. Our one environmental person is in Kilkenny, and that just seems very far away. It could work out very expensive. Could anyone offer us a solution? We'll certainly put that out there. Callers with a problem with honeybees, and they are very concerned. So if you can offer any advice or help on that, please let us know. A message from someone that says, no wonder so many Irish people now have their own personal Jesus. For decades, the Catholic Church deployed squadrons of lawyers to oppress victims, cover crimes, stigmatise whistleblowers, and move objectionable priests from place to place. If that wasn't bad enough, now it appears politicians can be gratuitously subjected to personal embarrassment when going to receive Holy Communion. From Bishop Casey to Minister Colin Burke, fishers of men, Depeche Mode, more like. And that comment comes from Michael, and I do appreciate the song pun, Michael. Thank you very much indeed. Caller says, my Facebook account got hacked a few weeks ago. My passwords have all been changed. I tried unsuccessfully to contact Facebook Ireland. There is an email and phone number for Facebook Ireland, but the phone rings once and gets rejected. The email keeps bouncing back undelivered. Any suggestions as to how to resolve it? I've years of photos lost, and that's what I really want. I can't offer it now. Very often people say they've been hacked on Facebook. When they haven't been hacked, they've been cloned. And what will happen is somebody will put up a page purporting to be Donal Kavanagh, and they'll start asking for something or trying to sell something. And that happened to me recently, actually, where a clone, and they start sending out friend requests. So I would certainly have a personal policy. If ever I get a friend request from someone with whom I'm already friends, ignore it. And I always say to my friends, if you ever get what appears to be a friend request from me, ignore it. And you see this happening more and more. People get friend requests from someone with whom they're already friends. That can very often be effectively cloners that are trying to sell stuff. So they establish this new account with somebody's real name. They send out requests to their friends. A lot will respond back, and then they'll try sending these, I'm stuck and I need money, or things like that. So that can be an issue. That's cloning. That's not hacking. This seems different. I presume, caller, you've tried to go under the change your password facility, which is there, and if you have two-point authentication, I know on some accounts you can do a thing where you can ask to change your passwords. They'll send a code to your mobile, and then you can change via that. I'm not sure if that helps here, but if anyone can give any advice to our caller, please do. Caller says, I was a contractor about 30 years ago. I had a job in Coolock. After a week on site, the wooden huts were burned down. We had to replace them with huts that couldn't be burnt down at very expensive costs. It's a social side of life and thuggery more than non-nationals. The non-nationals are being used as an excuse. So says a caller. And the caller says his parents were quoted €800 for 2 nights with breakfast only in a Donegal hotel. When you factor in dinner and drinks, you need well over 1,000. That is a very, very high price indeed. ESB, remember there was a big push there recently for people to move on to smart meters. Well, a caller was saying, since I got my smart meter, my bill from the ESB has been colossal. And I know a lot of people were saying that was what very likely would happen. And we'll put the question out there, and maybe something for discussion on the programme tomorrow. Have you had this new smart meter, and what's its effect on your bill bin, whoever your provider happens to be? It's one to be interesting, actually, because we do know that people were being urged, get this smart meter. It's the greatest thing. It's going to solve everything. Let's see what the impact of those smart meters were. Now, caller said, And this is a comment from last week on the Highland Radio Bulletin. It said there are now 42 fewer Gardaí in Donegal than in 2020, and there's not been a superintendent in Letterkenny for 6 months. The question is, what's going on? You simply cannot find an open Garda station in any town or village these days. This is the reality. Could the reason be to facilitate the drug trade from the north into Donegal? But that will be denied by everyone. There is no other logical conclusion unless you have one. I don't think anything is being done to facilitate a drug trade from the north into Donegal. I think what's happening is that Garda numbers were down on previous years, and Gardaí have been trying to redeploy resources. And one of the ways they redeploy their resources is they centralise into various places. When I started work as a journalist in Donegal, there were 5 Garda districts. There was a district in Glenties. That Glenties district was then scrapped. And now what the Milford area at the moment now covers Milford, and it also covers right down toward Glenties as well. Now, and then Milford was covering into West Donegal as well. Now they're talking about scrapping the Milford Garda district, and there's discussion of basically having 3 Garda districts in Donegal. You'll have Inishowen, which runs out of Buncrana. You'll have sort of East-West Donegal, which runs out of Letterkenny, and you'll have South and South-West Donegal, which runs out of Ballyshannon. And, that's what's happening is there is a trend toward centralisation, and that is happening in every sphere. Right, and that's it for the 9 till noon show. We have John Breslin coming up next, of course, around the Northwest. Thank you to all of you for